to what extent do you think that institutional adoption is set to continue into 2023? And if that is the case, what does it look like?
Mm-hmm. So it's going to continue, but it was going slowly anyway. So these hulking institutions, they move inch by inch. They think in 3 to 5 year terms, maybe 10-year terms, a bit like some of the regulators. Put it in perspective, bulge bracket banks have made $20 billion of investment in blockchain technology and blockchain companies over the last 2 years. That isn't going to zero. The last panel, again, spoke a lot about how blockchain tech will be used throughout capital markets. But there's no doubt, if I'm sitting at my quarterly board meeting, is the urgency to steam ahead in Q4, in Q1? Probably not. So let's reconsider. Let's look at all of the 4 things where we can invest and be involved in that marketplace. If you think about banks, they typically do 4 things. They invest in it. That's the least risk, actually, because at least you know your downside. They invest in it. They trade it for themselves, for their customers. They clear it for themselves and for their customers, and then they store it, or they act as custodians. You mentioned one name that moved into it for the first time. I thought the floodgates would open, that there is a requirement for institutional custodians in the space. I thought you'd have the big names coming in. You've got one now in to store 2 of it. You saw, was it the few senators requested that Fidelity don't allow Bitcoin to be part of a 401k. That slows it down. But ultimately, I look at those organizations, I look at the banks. They're committed to this in a time horizon that goes to 2030. I think 2023 will be tough, and the adoption will be slower than we expected if we go back 12 months or 18 months.